Alright, so today we're out here at probably the worst possible time. There's two times that I don't really like building beehives and boxes, and that's in the middle of the summer and the middle of the winter. And that's probably because I don't have any type of enclosed shop or air conditioned or heated shop. If you look, you know, I'm out here in the middle of the barn. It's 90 degrees outside and I'm about to burn up. So we're out here making some boxes. Now, in one of the previous videos, I told you guys I've got all these little side-by-side hives. They're 10 frame boxes divided in half. There's a 4 frame box on one side and 4 frame box on the other. Entrance on the front for one side and entrance on the back for the other. Now, the problem is I've got all these boxes. I'm filling them up. I want to take them into winter as a 4/4. So I want 4 frames. For the deep boxes, I want 4 deeps over 4 deeps. Now for the medium ones that I have, my goal is to get them in 4 mediums over 4 mediums over 4 mediums. I don't know if that'll happen, but that is the goal. It would be to take them into the winter in 3 layers. But I don't have any of the supers made. I got all the boxes, but I never have got around to building the supers. And so now I'm at the point where as these boxes start to fill up, I'm either going to have to start pulling bees out of them to weaken them, or I'm going to have to add a second layer. And so now I need to get these built. So a deep box is 16¼ inches. Generally, you divide that in half. That means each of these supers need to be 8 1/8. Now to make things simple, I make mine roughly 8 inches. I have wood here that I've been cutting. This is cypress lumber. I got it for very cheap about 1 or 2 years ago. I've had it out here at my barn. I got it for $1 a foot. Now it's not the best lumber. If you look at this box over here, these pieces, they have knot holes that go all the way through. Knots here. They've got rough edges. Some of them are not even, you know, a complete 3/4. This is probably more like a half, and this goes down to probably 3/8 or 1/4 of an inch. Up here we got rough edges. Some of them are split. I don't know if this one's split. No, that one's not split. No, down here. Some of them are split, but the lumber is cheap, so I have to keep all of that in mind when I'm building these boxes. These, for example, were 1x12s, but then whenever I cut them with the table saw, they were split down the middle and it just broke in half. So this will be one of my mediums. Now the other thing that I'm doing on this, I have built some boxes with this cypress using rabbited joints. There's a problem with that though. These boards are not all 3/4. So when you take a board that's not 3/4 of an inch and it's narrower, or sometimes it's greater than 3/4 of an inch, and you start to try to cut rabbets in it and you start making those rabbited joints, sometimes you end up with boxes that are a little bit too long, and sometimes you end up with boxes that are too short. I actually have a box here. This box here, let me grab this frame on the floor. So I've got a frame here in the floor. If I try to stick a frame in this box here, it won't fit. And the reason why is because these rabbited ends, these boards are not, have not been planed properly. And so, I mean, if you even look on this board, it's rough cut on that side. This one's the same way, it's rough cut. You can see this thing is split. So these boards are not the best. So in this case, I'm actually going to use butt joints. I've built a lot of these little supers using butt joints. I started out building all my hives with butt joints. When I got this table saw and the dado blades for it, then I started using rabbited joints. But I'm going to use butt joints. I've got my stapler that we will see later on. Maybe not in this video, it may be in another video. But I've got that big stapler, that 5/8 crown stapler. Is it 5/8 or 7/16? I think it's 7/16. It's right here. I got this Freeman brand stapler. I think it's a 7/16 inch crown. Let's see. What does this say? Well, you figure it out. 6.425. So we know it's not 5/8. It ain't ½ inch. I think it's a 7/16. I got a video on that. We're going to use that. I've got these staples over here. Since I'm using the butt joints, I may just go ahead and use the 2-inch. So here's the staples that I'm using. I got those off of Amazon. Got the stapler off of Amazon as well. We're going to put 3 or 4 of those 2-inch staples in those joints, and you know, I would just about bet anybody could come. You put 3 or 4 of those 2-inch staples in these boxes, you're not going to be able to get them apart. You'll break this wood. You'll bust the boxes before you'll get those apart. So, and you know, they'll work out fine. So let's get to cutting these last few. On these longer ends, this stand that the miter saw's on actually allows me to set up a stop using this little black thing here that moves. And so I've got that set up at 19 7/8. Now generally I like to build my boxes 19 7/8. When I first started, I just built them a flat 20. But then sometimes my frames would be just a little bit too short. Brushy Mountains boxes used to be built 19 7/8, so that's why I started building mine 19 7/8. Now when I do a rabbited joint, I do the sides of my box 19 1/8, and you have a 1/8 inch lip from the rabbet, or you not 1/8, you have a 3/8 lip for the rabbet on both sides, so you have 19 1/8 plus 3/8 and another 3/8. So those two 3/8 are 6/8, and 19 1/8 plus 6/8 is 19 7/8 for your total box. So the reason I say all that is when we're doing a butt joint, you have to build the sides 19 7/8. Why do you do that? Well, the sides of the box are going to be the full length of the box, because on your front and back, your end pieces, you're going to have that rabbet. If you don't build the sides the full length, then you're going to have a slot at the end of your box where the rabbet is. You're going to have a hole that you're going to have to try to fill in. I've made that mistake before. Don't make that mistake, because you'll have a 3/8 of an inch by 5/8 inch hole at the end of your corner, because your boxes they're not going to fit right. So when you're using butt joints, make sure the side of the box is the full length, and then your end pieces will actually fit in between those, and then it'll finish up nicely. And you'll see what I'm talking about a little bit later. But let's go ahead and cut a couple more side pieces, and then I won't make you guys watch all this boringness. All right, 5 down, 91 more to go. All right, so it's Monday. Last time I was out here working on these boxes, it was Friday. I don't know why I always do this. When I'm used to building boxes the normal way, I always get confused when I start building boxes for these side-by-side hives. So I can't remember if I said this in the previous videos Friday or not, but I thought I was done cutting boxes out, which has kind of surprised me, because when I bought all that cypress lumber, I knew that I was going to have to buy more to finish all the supers for all these boxes I got. But then I had enough, I thought I had enough anyway, to do it, and I thought, man, how'd I do that? Well, here's the problem. I got 60 side pieces right here, right? So I've got 30 boxes. I've got 50 of those side-by-side hives, but only 30 of them have bottoms on them. So I've got 30 of those boxes, so I figure, oh, well, I need 60 sides, and then over here, I need 60 ends, right? So 60 sides and 60 ends with 2 sides and 2 ends to each box would make what, 30 boxes. So that's good, right? Well, normally that's good, but that's not good whenever you're making these little side-by-sides, because with the side-by-sides 30 boxes, you need 60 supers. So guess what? I've only cut out half of what I thought I had to cut out. And it's the same thing over here with these, with the little ones, the mediums. I only cut out about half of what I needed. So this morning, I just finished up setting up the wax melter. So y'all probably seen a video on that. So this morning, I had to go to the building supply and get more wood, which is, you know, high quality problem. Our building supply, the one that I've been using, has some pretty good deals. 12-foot 1x8s, which is, I use 1x8s to make my mediums. 12-foot 1x8s are $8.75, and the pine boards are $1.35 a foot. $1.35 a foot for some people maybe sound like a lot of money, but I've not found anywhere around here that will sell me pine boards for $1 a foot or 75 cents a foot. So I pay $1.35. I could make these out of Advantech and save some money. I don't mind making tops out of Advantech. I just don't like the looks of Advantech for high bodies, and I just find it hard to believe that the Advantech will hold up as long as pine boards for high bodies. I could be wrong. Advantech's a new thing. It's only been around for a couple years as far as in the beekeeping world, people using it. So we'll see how long some of these hives last, but for my boxes, I want high quality pine boards, or these are cypress. I'll take cypress too. I want high quality solid boards. I don't want the manufactured stuff for my boxes. Tops, totally different. I don't really care about the tops. You know, the Advantech for tops, I mean, yeah, you can make tops for pretty cheap. I guess you could make the same argument for hives. You can make them for pretty cheap, but I'm not going to invest a lot of money into Advantech to make a bunch of boxes that aren't going to last. I've got high bodies that I've been using for 10 years. So maybe a few years from now, if Advantech's still doing really good, I'll look into that. But until then, I guess I'm just traditional. I like solid boards, so that's what I'm going to use. But now I've got to cut these out. I'm going to do the same thing on these as I did the last ones. What I think I'm going to do is I've got these 12-foot boards. Now the way I've got it figured, takes me a 10-foot board to do one side-by-side hive, because I have on the sides, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, roughly 20 inches. So that's 20, 40, 60, 80 inches of lumber to do the sides. Plus the box itself is 16 inches on the front and 16 inches on the back, which is, granted, it's not going to be 16. It's going to probably be more like 13 inches, but we're just going to say 16 to round up. So you figure if you got 20, 40, 60, 80, and 16 and 16, that's another 30, 110. So you're looking at about 100 and, accounting for some bad wood or whatever. If you say 120 inches, which would be a 10-foot board, you could easily do a whole box. You could build 2 supers for a side-by-side hive with a 10-foot board. So not too bad. So what I'm going to end up doing is, these are 12-footers, so I'm going to have some left over. All right, so I have gotten all of these boards cut, the end pieces cut, the 6.5 inch pieces cut. And the way I'm doing that today, I've got my C-clamp here. I have clamped a stop right here. So all I have to do is slide the board forward till it hits the stop. I push up against this end with my hip to get it there. Then I just take the saw, bring it down and cut it. Now the thing about this saw, it's a 12 inch sliding miter saw, but it still will not cut a 1x12 board. So what I do is, normally my right hand would be on the wood, my left hand would be controlling the saw. I actually take my hip right here that's pushing up against the board, and I lift up with my toe, and when I do that, I lift the board and it will cut this little end here. Highly recommend two things if you're going to build your own beekeeping equipment. One is some sort of miter saw with a stand, and see, this stand has stops on it. So when I take this block off, I believe this stop's already set up at 19 7/8, and I can just slide this board forward and just sit there and just slide and cut, slide and cut, slide and cut. It makes life a lot easier. Of course, remember, like I said earlier in the video, we're using butt joints. Normally my ends would be 19 1/8, but since we are doing butt joints, I have to have my sides would be 19 1/8. But since we're doing butt joints, my sides are 19 7/8. So anyway, I got that part done. Now what I've got to do, take this block off, set this thing up for the 19 7/8, and I've got to cut 4 boards 19 7/8 off of each of these. And after that's done, I should be left with a 2-foot piece for all of these, which is fine because I will eventually use those 2-foot pieces to make some more supers. I'm not necessarily going to need any more supers or boxes for the deeps because 4/4 is fine with me, but I'm probably going to have to build some more mediums because the mediums too high, I don't know that that'll be enough, and I would really like to get the mediums up into 3. So anyway, that's the plan. So I'm going to take that stop off there and get to cutting the rest of these boards out. Alright, so the farrier came. I got the horse's feet done, and before I got their feet done, I cut a little bit of wood, and I'm almost finished. So if I bring the camera around here, you can see I've got my stop set up there with the board pushed up against it. That's set up at 19 7/8. So I've got the deep boxes, or the 1x12s, cut there. Those are all 19 7/8. And then I've got 20 of them right here on the table saw. They're going to be to rip down to because they're 11 1/4, and we've got to take them down to 9 5/8. So I got 20 there ready to do, and then I've got, I got these here ready. Now I also had the 1x8s, so I've got 20 1x8s right there that have been cut 19 7/8, and then I have some more right here. So what I was going to do, this is going to be my last one, so I was just going to let you guys watch me cut the last one. Get the camera set up there. Alright, and that's it. So over here is my scrap pile. I've got about a 2-foot piece of my 1x12s and my 1x8s. There's 13 1x12s and there's 10 1x8s. So a 2-foot piece will do quite a bit. I mean, that'll make several more boxes, and I'll probably be using those later on in the year. So now what I've got to do, now that I've got everything cut to length, let me get this camera off here. So now that I've got everything cut to length, I've got to start ripping everything on the table saw. So we'll set our table saw up for these deep boxes. We'll set them up 9 5/8. We'll cut those to 9 5/8 and they'll be done. We will set up the 1/8. We'll set up the table saw to 6 5/8 for those, and we'll rip all of the sides, and then we will rip these the end pieces here, because these are 1/8, and 1/8 are, I believe, 7 1/4. Let me check. No, that's 6 1/2. Let's see, 7. Well, these are 7 1/8. That one's 1/4. There's, yeah, I guess there's some variation there. But anyway, they're 7 1/4. We got to take them down to 6 5/8. So we're going to do all of that. We've got to rip down all of these medium ends. I got medium ends on top of those 2 totes there. Plus I have this stack here that needs to be done. So it's going to be a lot of table saw work. Once we get everything ripped to the right height, then we will come and get our dado blades. We'll have to take this throat plate out. We'll have to put our dado blades in, and then we will start cutting the dado for the frame rest. And then after we do that, we can start assembling stuff. So we're going to end up having, not even really sure how many yet. There should be 26 pine and 30 cypress. So that's going to end up being about 56, no, 56, around 56 or so of these. I've already got 4 or 6 boxes already, that, my old ones that I can use. So that'll give us around 60 of those boxes. And then I'm not really sure on these. I had enough wood cut for about 13 or 14 mediums, but these 10 will make another 20. So out of those 13 or 14 plus 20, that'll give me like, somewhere around the mid 30s. And I need like 36. So I'm gonna be really close on those, but I'm not 100% sure yet, but we'll figure it out. So I'm going to get to work on the table saw, and I'll be back with you whenever I get caught up on that. Alright, so we're done. I have gotten all of the deep end pieces cut. You can see all the grooves for the frame rest. It's a standard 3/8 inch lip, 3/8 inch on the frame rest, and then it's 5/8 deep. So I did all of those. There are 60 cypress, and then should be, well, let's see, I think I did 60 of the cypress. Then I had 13 I had 13 1x12s, and I cut 4 boards, so that'd be 26, 52. So there should be 52 of the pine and 60 of the cypress. Over here, I haven't counted, but I have cypress here and pine here. It probably doesn't matter, but I am going to try to keep pine with pine and cypress with cypress, so whenever I put the boards together. So I've got all of my medium box end pieces cut out, and then right behind them I have the sides, and then same thing here's the end pieces for the deeps, and then this big stack here is the end pieces from the sides. Now on my table saw, it's a Delta. I had to buy this throat plate for my dado blades, and I have that set of dado blades there. I got them at Lowe's. They're $100. It's a Irwin set. I've used them for a couple years now. Probably going to have to get a new set before long, because I'm telling you, they are really getting worn out. And here is all my scraps. So got a ton of scrap. What I will probably do with some of this is some of these pieces, like these rectangular pieces, I'm going to, after I get these boxes painted, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble these boxes and we'll start stacking them up outside, put something heavy on the top, and I take a roller and I'm just going to roll paint on all 4 sides. After I get that done, I probably will cut me some blocks out of those and just staple them to the front and back for handles for the supers. You guys may have seen that on some of my other supers. Well, okay, so the camera died. I don't know what happened when we were walking, but here's a prime example. And this is basically what I'm doing right here. You can see I've got the 6.5 inch piece here. Then you got 3/4 and 3/4, so 6.5, 7.25, 8 inches. 16.25 divided by 2 is 8 1/8. So make it easy. I make them 8 inches, and then on these I just took a block. So basically, when you cut a lot of these boards down, you're left with a little strip, and I just take that little strip, and then these I just nailed it, but I'll probably staple it on the other ones. These I didn't even staple. I just used 4 nails. So that's what we're doing. And so you can see the sides go all the way out to the end, and you just use butt joints. So, you know, butt joints aren't the best joint in the world, but like I said earlier, I don't have the time to cut rabbited joints. I mean, it takes me long enough to cut this rabbet for the frame rest. Then I have to cut 2 rabbets on the other ends, and we're kind of in the middle of the summer, right in the middle of the bee season, so we're just going to do the butt joints. I've been using these for 2 or 3 years. They're not even painted, and there's nothing wrong with those boxes. So they're not going to last as long as a painted box, but they'll work. So that's going to be it for this video, because I know this one's been kind of long. We'll do another video, or I'll do another video of me assembling these boxes, and I'll show you that 7/16 crown stapler in action, and show you how strong that thing is, because it's a hoss for putting the boxes together. All right, you guys have a good one.